Welcome back to the Become Your Own Muse podcast. I'm your host, Danielle Lowy. I have a little bit of a cold right now, so that's why I might sound a little nasally. We have been just traveling a lot. I feel like there's never a summer where Mike and I are just like chill, where there's a weekend where we don't do anything. We always start the summer off of like, yeah, this summer is going to be different. We're just going to keep our weekends free and blah, blah, blah. And we're such social human beings, and we just love to travel. We love just hopping in the van. We love hopping on a flight somewhere. So we are this weekend flying over to Wisconsin to spend the week with my extended family in Wisconsin at our lake house. We're going to do a lot of wakeboarding. We're going to do a lot of water skiing, a lot of just family hangs. It's going to be a really good time. Today, I want to talk about a topic that I think is really common for people, and I want to give a different sort of perspective on it. And it's the question of, am I good enough? And I think at one point or another, maybe multiple times a day, we are met with this question of, am I good enough? Right? And we like to seek it out from other people. A lot of us are anxiously attached or rely on external validation to confirm if we are good enough versus not good enough. I know for people who are really high achievers who get a lot of their validation through their work ethic and their accomplishments. So I know that I was like this for a really long time, where my self-worth and how I thought about myself was through projects I had done, how much money I was making in work, whether my boss was recognizing me or not. Like, if that all went away, I would feel like I didn't have a sense of purpose, a sense of self-worth. You might be someone who gets it from your partner all the time. You have this anxious attachment, like, please, like, tell me I'm good enough. Or maybe it's your boss. You constantly need to feel like they're validating you, or else every time they set a meeting with you, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm getting fired. It's wasting your time thinking that you're not good enough. And I think what we need to do here is we need to stop wasting our time thinking we're not good enough and asking if we're good enough. And instead, we need to go out and we need to prove to ourselves that we are. So when I went through this process of feeling like I wasn't good enough, and I was like, this is not a narrative I want to subscribe to anymore, I need to reverse engineer this. And I think a lot of people don't do this. And this may come off a little harsh, but like, this is just my perspective on it. If you feel like you're not good enough, there's probably a reason for that. Okay. So when you have this feeling of not good enough and you are needing validation from other people to confirm that for you because you can't give it to yourself, what's happening here is there's a lack of self-trust. There's something that you're doing behind the scenes that's feeding into this narrative of I'm not good enough. And it's probably happening from an unconscious level. So if you're someone who says that, I'll give you just like very micro examples. If you're someone who says, I'm going to wake up at 7 a.m., I'm going to go to the gym this week 3 times. And then your alarm clock goes off. You hit the snooze button. You're like, you know what? It's fine. I'll do it tomorrow. It comes time to go to the gym. You're like, oh, I'm just really tired. Okay, I'll just go tomorrow, right? These are very small things. In the grand scheme of things, whatever, do they really matter? But they actually do, because you're telling yourself, hey, I was going to do this thing. I'm committing to this. And then you're proving to yourself that you're not trustworthy and you don't follow through with the things you say you're going to do, right? As small as waking up in the morning, going to the gym, saying you were going to go grocery shopping, and instead you went and got Wendy's drive-thru because you were too lazy and didn't feel like cooking. So there's these very tiny moments throughout our days where we show to ourselves that we're not trustworthy, that we don't follow through on the things we say we're going to do. There's a lot of moments in time where we actually don't advocate for ourselves. We let other people walk all over us. We just stay passive and go, oh, it's whatever they want. Maybe a friend is doing something that's upsetting you, and by not advocating for yourself, what you're signaling to your brain is, I am not worthy enough to have my needs be met. I'm not worthy enough to express these desires to someone, so I'm going to say small. So all the times that we signal to ourselves in the very, very tiny moments of, I said I was going to do this and actually didn't. I'm feeling a certain way. I am expressing this need. I'm expressing this desire, but I'm not going to tell that person. You are signaling to yourself, I'm not trustworthy. I'm not worthy. So when we have these feelings of I'm not good enough, instead of wasting your time thinking on that, it's okay. So how can I create evidence that I am good enough? Right? Because that falls on you. You thinking that you're good enough, that's not going to come from anyone else. That's not going to come from your significant other. It's not going to come from your friends. It's not going to come from your parents. It's not going to come from your boss. No matter how much they gas you up, you truly at core feeling good enough is going to come from you believing it, from you knowing. And the only way that you can get there is by creating evidence to you get to the point where you're like, I have no choice but to believe this. If you start to follow through on the things you say you're going to do, if you, every time you set an alarm, you get up at that time. Every time you say you're going to go to the gym, you go do it. Every time you say you're going to cook dinner, no matter how tired you are, you do it. If you start actually building all this little tiny evidence of, I actually follow through the things I say I'm going to do, before long, you've created so much evidence that you have no choice to just believe, yeah, I'm trustworthy. Because you proved it to yourself over and over and over again. A lot of people think it's in the big moments. It's not. It's in these very small, everyday moments consistently over and over and over again. And I use this example a lot, but if you become a runner, let's say, how do you decide that you're a runner? If you become a gym rat, how do you decide you're a gym rat? You go to the gym over and over and over and over and over and consistently until it becomes your identity and you're like, I'm just a gym rat. It's the same thing with building self-trust. It's doing things over and over and over and over and over and over again to confirm I actually trust myself, because that's the identity of who I am, because I've built the evidence and I have no other choice but to believe it based on all this evidence. If you feel like you're not able to advocate for yourself, find small pockets of time of, if something bothered you that your partner did, come to them and say, hey, I just want to talk to you about something that's really bothered me. Maybe it's going to your boss and saying, hey, I demonstrated XYZ in accordance to my goals, and I really think that I deserve a raise. It's finding pockets of time to advocate for yourself. Maybe it's smaller than that. You start smaller. Maybe you're like at a restaurant and the waitress brought your order and it's not what you ordered, and you actually say to them, hey, this is not what I ordered, instead of just pretending like that never happened. Right? Finding small pockets of time to show and prove to yourself that you can actually advocate for yourself. Because when you advocate for yourself, that shows you trust yourself, and that shows you are backing yourself and you believe that your needs, your desires are worthy of being met. So when you're not feeling good enough, there's probably a reason for that. You're probably relying on other people to confirm that for you, or there are things in your life that you're doing that are allowing you to feed this narrative. What can you be doing to trust yourself more? What could you be doing to respect yourself more? What could you be doing to understand yourself more? Because the more that you build your emotional intelligence and connection relationship to yourself, the more that you're going to be able to create that evidence of, I actually am good enough. I do deserve this. And the only person that's going to be able to do that is you. So if you're listening to this and you have that thought, and maybe it's not all the time, maybe it's like these one-off situations, because that happens to me too, right? Like most of the time I'm feeling great, but something may happen. I may wake up a certain day, or I'm just like feeling off, and I'm like, oh, I feel kind of insecure. I don't feel worthy. I don't feel good enough. But then I backtrack and I'm like, okay, so what led to this, right? It's from that very rational brain. The emotional brain really likes to take over and convince us that the emotion that we're feeling is valid, is true, but it's not, right? When you put on a rational brain and you become emotionally intelligent, you're able to do this. It's, okay, I am feeling insecure. I am not insecure. Why is this? What were the events that led to this? What is the evidence that I created for myself to allow me to believe this to be true? So if I wake up one day and I'm not feeling very secure and I'm feeling down on myself, I like back it up. I'm like, okay, so what have I done in the past 24 hours that could have led to this? I was scrolling on social media a lot this morning, and that probably led to me seeing the highlight reel of everyone else's life. Okay, now I'm starting to see this. I did say that I was going to go to the gym yesterday, but I didn't. Okay, that probably contributes to it, right? And you can start to like pinpoint where this emotion is coming from, because it's coming from somewhere. And when you can understand why you may be feeling the way that you're feeling, that's when you can create new evidence to change it. So it's, if I'm feeling insecure, what is going to allow me to feel secure? What's going to allow me to feel good enough? Well, this whole rest of this week, let's actually go to the gym when I say I'm going to go to the gym. Let's cut back on scrolling on social media, because I know this is just a highlight reel of everyone's life. I don't really need to be consuming what everyone else is doing. So it's being cognizant of that, and it's reverse engineering and then creating new evidence to prove to yourself, I am good enough. This is the process. And this is what's really cool, because when this happens, when you become emotionally intelligent, you just start doing this naturally, and you're able to get yourself out of these like mood swings of, I'm not good enough, I don't deserve this, like what am I doing? You're able to really rationalize it and say, oh, okay, let's hold on for a second here. There must be a reason this is happening. How am I contributing to this situation? You start to look at all the events that happened prior and then go, okay, so what do I need to do? Prove to myself that I am secure, that I am good enough, that I am worthy. And then you do those things and you flip your mood really quickly. If you are feeling this, try this process out. Be kind to yourself. There's a difference too when I say this of like, when I ask you, how are you contributing to this? Where's your role in this? It's not from a place of shame. It's not from you to be like, oh my gosh, I scrolled on social media. I'm such an idiot, blah, blah, right? Because that's just a distraction. When you go into that shame and guilt and like, poor me, that victim frequency, that's actually your ego distracting from looking at what's really there and taking accountability. And it's doing it by making you play the victim. So it's doing it from a really mature place of, how did I contribute to this? It's that genuine curiosity. It's not shaming yourself. It's going, what events did I that led up to this moment? What have I been doing? Like what routines, where have I lied to myself, from a very, very like high frequency curiosity place, not from a place of trying to shame yourself. Because that's when you're going to get to the answer. That's when you're going to be able to start to learn a lot of your patterns, why you feel the way that you do, and how you're going to get to a place where you're so emotionally intelligent that you're able to feel this negative emotion come up and you can change it very quickly. All right, guys, let me know how this process works for you, and I will see you in the next episode.